to fantasy football with Dnasty. All right, and now we have fantasy football week number 6 with my boy Dnasty. Tweet him at Dnasty #1. Long time no see, Dave.
Yeah, no kidding, buddy. It's a good weekend. Starting at the Buffalo Bills game.
It was awesome. That stadium is cool. It's like that old school feel for the NFL. Their parking lot's pretty much all grass and mud with some broken down asphalt in there, so people don't get too stuck. There's in our tailgating area. There's a little cool river right behind us, and it was called the Smoke River, but it was
Smoke Creek.
Yeah, Smoke Creek, and it was a nice little touch. You walk back there through the woods and do whatever, take your piss or whatever. But there's a little bit of smoking going down at Smoke Creek as well, and just everyone had a huge party, and it definitely did not disappoint. We didn't see too many tables getting crushed, I think, and that's probably actually a good thing because nobody got hurt, obviously. So what a blast of a game! And hey, the Bills won, right, Dave?
Yes, it was actually nice to see the Bills win.
We got to witness them win, meet some of the Bills Mafia guys, Bradley, this guy named Jay, just really cool guys out there, and they were extremely nice to us. So really happy that we did that.
Definitely good times.
What a hell of a flight, though, man. Today I just got back a few hours ago, so I'm pretty smoked. But I was able to get some of this fantasy work done on the plane, my man. And why don't you go ahead and take it with the key injuries?
Quite a few, actually. A big injury today. Jay Ajayi for the Eagles out the rest of the year with a torn ACL. So he will be done for the rest of the year, and he was placed on IR today.
Mm-hmm. That was the biggest one.
Injuries over the weekend. Brandon Cooks, he left after the first couple plays of the game with a concussion. He is questionable for this week. Corey Grant suffered a season-ending Liz Frank injury, so pretty much a foot injury. He will not be back this year as well. He will be placed on IR. He was the backup to TJ Yeldon, so the Jaguars are going to be very thin at running back with Fournette still out. Delvin Cook did not play this week again, so he's still banged up.
Yeah.
He was a no-show for this week again. Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp was evaluated for concussion as well this week. So he'll be questionable going forward. 49ers running back Matt Breida suffered an ankle sprain. So it's actually a severe ankle sprain that he's very questionable for this week as well. They're saying he may not play this week. And then Kerryon Johnson, ankle injury as well. They do have a bye this week, so he should have enough time to be healthy by week 7. But he's the guy you might want to take a look at, and he's the guy we'll talk about maybe possibly picking up his backup as well.
Yeah, good job. Can't believe 2 main Rams receivers went out. Brandon Cooks and Kupp there, both concussions. So definitely be monitoring their status. Concussions can take you out for a while sometimes, or it just can be day to day. I think right now it's day to day, and we'll see if they get back. Yeah, awful Jay Ajayi. Jeez, man. Probably the biggest injury. Matt Breida's was pretty bad, too, and I do not expect him to play next week. Austin Seferian-Jenkins had a core muscle injury. He's on the injured reserve. So they moved him to IR today, and I was pretty shocked with that one, because this injury he had for a while, but it was just bad enough for them to take him out completely. And then... Corey Grant, his foot injury is pretty bad, so he was put on IR, and he was kind of like the second backup now because of Fournette being out so long, and I don't expect Fournette back next week either. So there's some serious, fantasy impacts for some of these. But let's get into the waiver wire, Dave. Well, you know what? Let's first talk about bye weeks. You said the Detroit Lions have byes. And then I believe it's the New Orleans Saints, and that's it, right, Dave?
That's correct.
Okay, cool. So if you have any of those guys, the Saints are destroying the Redskins right now.
Saints actually just won 43-19.
Yeah, just spanked them. I was leaning Saints today too, but definitely didn't have time to get on that one. Let's move into the waiver wire then, David. Who you have?
So actually, a guy from tonight from the Saints game, Traquan Smith, wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints, had a very good game tonight. And then another guy actually too for the Saints, Cameron Meredith. So Traquan Smith, 3 catches, 111 yards, and 2 TDs tonight. Cameron Meredith, 5 catches for 71 yards tonight. There isn't a really true number 2 receiver there, but those two could be possibly nice pickups going forward if they continue to produce for the Saints. And with the top quarterback in Breeze, there's enough probably targets to go around as well. So those are 2 guys you might want to just keep an eye on going forward. A guy we talked about last week, Jameis Winston, he's starting this week. So he's a guy you might want to take a look at. Just wanted to remind you about picking him up possibly this week if possible. Baker Mayfield, if he's still not, he's only owned in 37% of leagues still right now. He completed 25 of 43 passes, 342 yards and a touchdown. He had 23 yards rushing as well with the win. And the Browns are now 2-2-1. They doubled their win total from the last 2 years. So Mayfield has been playing better week by week. So definitely, if he's still out there, definitely take a look at him. A guy might not think of, Sam Darnold. He has a good matchup this week. The Colts have given up at least 243 passing yards in all 5 contests. So bodes well for him. For rookie quarterback who was failed to crack 200 in 4 of his 5 games. So maybe this is the week that Darnold throws for 300 yards. So we'll see. But definitely a good pickup if you have some injuries to fill in or a bye week to fill in with Breeze. You can take a flyer on Winston or Darnold, one of those young quarterbacks out there. Another guy, if you're looking for a running back replacement, Mike Davis. Guy Takeev and I were discussing this weekend actually at the game. He had actually a nice week as well. Even though Carson had 119 yards, Pete Carroll stayed true to his word and made Mike Davis fit in. So Davis opened up the scoring with a 6-yard rushing touchdown, and he had 12 carries for 68 yards with the score, and then 2 catches for 7 yards as well. So Mike Davis is definitely a guy you want to take a look at picking up. He's definitely going to get some run going forward. Theo Riddick, we were talking about Kerryon Johnson. With him out, Theo Riddick could get an uptick in receptions and some carries as well. I do expect Kerryon hopefully to be back by week 7, though, with the bye week. But if he's not, Theo Riddick would be the guy you want to take a look at picking up. He's only owned in right now in 20% of leagues right now. So definitely a guy you want to take a look at. Another guy we were just talking about with Matt Breida being doubtful for this week, and they're playing the Packers. Running back Kyle Juszczyk, I probably butchered his name, but he's definitely a guy you want to take a look at as well. He had 6 catches on 7 targets for 75 yards this past week. He tacked on a 12-yard carry, finishing the day with 14.7 fantasy points. So definitely a guy you want to take a look at as well. He's going to be getting some more carries going forward too. Robbie Anderson, there's been a Robbie Anderson sighting. Finally, after weeks of underachieving, Robbie Anderson put up a nice game this past week. So he had 103 yards on Sunday, and he had a collective 108 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah,
through the first 4 games, and he had almost that much yards on Sunday with 103 yards. So he's coming back to life now. So maybe he can get it going against the Colts as well. Like I was saying, the Colts have a very porous defense, so definitely a guy you want to take a look at. A guy most people have forgotten about, Martavius Bryant. If not suspended, he usually can play. So when he does play, he can put up numbers as well. He had week 5, he had 3 catches for 91 yards. He did have a fumble, but through 4 games, he leads the Raiders in both average depth of target and with 13 yards and air yards per target at 65. So big play guy. He's hit or miss, but if you need a receiver, plug him in your lineup and just hope for the best. And hopefully he'll rattle off a few good plays for you. For tight ends, with Eifert out, CJ Uzomah. We talked about him briefly last week as well. He did have a nice game this past week. So definitely, he had 9 catches for 77 yards. Well, actually, Austin Hooper, another guy too that I was taking a look at. He had 9 catches for 77 yards. So Hooper is a nice pickup, and Uzumo, good pickup too as well. He hit both of his targets for 43 yards. So both those guys are nice pickups if you're looking for a tight end. Since Ricky Seals-Jones, who I started in one of my leagues, had the big goose egg this week for me. So if you're looking to replace Ricky Seals-Jones or another guy on the bye, definitely pick him up. And then the last one I have this week is the Green Bay Packers defense. They were dropped probably in almost every league possible this past week after the Lions made them look bad. Over 13,000 fantasy owners dropped them in week 5. But they are playing the 49ers. C.J. Beathard is playing and had 2 interceptions this past week. They had 4 turnovers total from the San Francisco offense and no Breida. So definitely a good matchup for the Packers this week.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a lot. I think you definitely mentioned some names that some of us have probably never heard of. Wendell Smallwood, I have. If you don't have him, he's not owned in that many leagues now, but he possibly could be the number 1 guy to replace Ajayi. Of course, Clement's going to get half the carries too, I think. But even Darren Sproles gets a little knock-up now, so Darren Sproles might be worth a flyer on. If you want Josh Reynolds to replace some of the Rams, I think they're going to play like Cooper Kupp and Brandon Cooks. But if they don't, then he's the one you would look at for the Rams, especially for a weekly fantasy type league, for the like your DraftKings. That would be a good cheap guy to put in that might get a ton of points. If you want to handcuff Mixon, you might want to get Mark Walton, because Giovanni Bernard's really banged up, obviously. Just like Dave mentioned, Alfred, I'm just going to throw in Alfred Morris. And we mentioned this before, but now that Breida's hurt, Morris is going to get the bulk of the carries at the 49ers. Totally agree with Austin Hooper. He had 9 targets last week for Atlanta. So they tried to target the middle of Pittsburgh's field, but they just got by under so many points they couldn't make up. Robbie Anderson, completely agree. LeGarrette Blount's only owned by 12% of leagues, and he had 2 TDs for the Lions. Now, the big one that replaced Austin Seferian-Jenkins is going to be Niles Paul. He had a bunch of targets in the second half. I think it was 6 or 7. But he's the Jacksonville tight end that's replacing him, so he's definitely going to be worth a look. And now that Jameis Winston's a starter, he's available in some leagues because people dropped him when they thought Fitzpatrick was going to start. But now that Winston, if you really need a quarterback, he has a very high ceiling. Cameron Brate's his favorite receiver. 21% of leagues he's owned in. That's it. So remember that Brate gets a big bump now that Winston's back. And
Howard's out as well.
Yeah, and O.J. Howard's out as well, right? And
yes.
And Chester Rogers and Ryan Grant had a line 11 and 9 targets for Indianapolis. Chester Rogers and Ryan Grant. Check on T.Y. Hilton's status. So that's what I have for my waiver wire. And yeah, Cameron Brate would be a good guy to replace Eifert and Austin Seferian-Jenkins if he's available. I would definitely favor him first over probably Niles Paul. Breakout players. Well, I'll quickly run through mine. Jameis, and these are players that you wouldn't start normally, but probably maybe. But I say to start this week. Jameis Winston versus Atlanta's bad D. He might, I think, after a bye, he's going to get it together. And then obviously with Cameron Brate, I think he's going to be a starter. Tyler Boyd versus Pittsburgh's defense. He's going to be the second best receiver behind AJ Green, but the Bengals will have to throw it a lot this game, as you know. Pittsburgh plays a fast and pass-heavy game. This could be a huge score, this game. Austin Hooper versus Tampa Bay's defense. It's like Dave said to pick him up. Emmanuel Sanders, I like, versus the Rams' passing defense. The Rams have been really hurting in their passing game, and he's going to be the guy being left open. James White. Now, we haven't mentioned him enough, but he leads the Patriots in targets, man. He's the best pass catcher. Him and Gronk, I guess, but James White has just been killing it. He's a must-start guy now. I just wanted to mention that. And versus Kansas City this week, he might be your most reliable guy. So that's what I have for my break.